Salams and welcome. Thank you for joining me in another episode of the Quran in English Basics for Beginners. A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. There was for Sabah aforetime a sign in their homeland, two gardens to the right and to the left. Eat of the sustenance provided by your Lord and be grateful to him. A territory fair and happy, and a Lord oft forgiving. Now, this is the land of Sabah, and we leave the details to the ulama. As what I said, especially if there's difference of opinion. But before we get into that, let's just basically look as to what we're looking at. Here's the land of Sabah, and there were two mountains, two huge mountains. But these people had an amazing skill, and they managed to build a dam. That's not the way a dam is. A dam is the other way around. So they managed to build a dam like this. Right? And here is all the water, right, between the two mountains in the valley. And this is the huge dam, the dam wall there. And you can see the dam wall here, right? And then on both sides, there were gardens because there was abundant water from this dam. And this is known as the Mariba Dam, a huge dam. And because they had managed to build a reservoir of this water, because whenever it would rain, then water would come down the mountains on both sides and keep on filling this dam. So they had a constant supply of water. The dam was being filled every time. Whenever the dam would spill over, the water would go to the orchard. So they had orchards on both sides, right? They had magnificent trees on both sides of this dam along long pathways there. And the fruit was so abundant, right? So famously, a woman didn't have to go pick up the fruit or pluck it from the tree. All that she had to do was put a basket on her head. So the woman would be very intelligent. So they didn't bother to pick up the fruit. They would just take a basket, put it on the head. So this is the head of the woman. And she would start walking along the side of this dam, along the orchard here and the orchard there. And as she is walking, there is so much abundant fruit that by the time she walks a few meters, that basket is full already with fruit. Absolutely amazing, right? And then so it was very easy for the people. They had great prosperity, lot of wealth, lot of abundance. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed them. Because the basic thing that any nation or country needs is a good supply of water. Once you have a good supply of water, you can start developing your agriculture, your fruits, your vegetables, your cattle, and your sheep, and so on. But now, the one mistake that they did was the devil or Satan or Shaitan deviated them away from La ilaha illallah. So instead of worshipping and thanking the one true God, they were worshipping the sun. So the sun is over here, and they said, no, the sun is our God. So they thanked the sun for the water, they thanked the sun for the dam, they thanked the sun for all the fruit trees that they got here, and for all the abundance. And because of that, eventually they were punished because the entire dam collapsed. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the dam rats. These are large rats, and they started gnawing away at the bottom of the dam until eventually that entire wall collapsed and the entire dam flooded the valley, and all the agriculture, the trees, everything were totally destroyed, and because they had deviated away. But we also know the story elsewhere, also here as well, where we know that Sulaiman alayhi salam, when he was marching towards the various parts of the world. Now there's a debate among the scholars. Some people say that Queen Sheba was from Yemen, and others say no, she is from Abyssinia, and not Abyssinia, which is Ethiopia, right? And they honor her Makedema or something like her name. I apologize, Makdima or something like that. They honor and treat her with great respect in Ethiopia as well as in Yemen. And must remember that Yemen and Ethiopia are basically, the Horn of Africa comes here, so it's basically across the Red Sea is over here. So Allah, maybe she was in both. She was the queen of both the areas, whichever way it is. All that we know, we don't have to get involved in the academics about that. All that we know, there was an amazing queen, wonderful human being, very prosperous. And then in Yemen especially, they had a thing called frankincense. And she had the formula of this, and they kept it a closely guarded secret. One small amount of frankincense was more valuable than gold. So this is what gave them amazing prosperity, and nations from all over wanted this frankincense, and that is why it made Yemen a very, very wealthy and prosperous country. And that's when she met Sulaiman alayhi salam's Solomon and his armies. And the hoopoe bird came, flying around doing his scouting. And then when he saw this amazing queen with her amazing throne, and then he went back to Sulaiman alayhi salam and he said, I found an amazing woman, very, very prosperous, outstanding, very elegant person. But the only problem is Shaitan has deceived them, that despite all the wealth and prosperity, they are worshipping the sun. And then to cut a long story short, Sulaiman alayhi salam then asked for the throne to be brought there. He did not accept any bribes. They went through a diplomatic process. They did not want to go through a warfare. And then she decided to go visit him, and on the way she became a believer, she became a Muslim. But the interesting thing is when Sulaiman alayhi salam invited her to his palace, she saw what looked like water, a lake of water, when she entered the royal palace. And she picked up her skirt to now walk across the lake, because he was standing on the other side. And he said, come join me on this side here. So now she knew she's got to walk across this. She thought maybe just a little bit of water. So she tucked up her skirts to now walk across this body of water to meet him on that side. And when she did that, he said, why are you doing that? And she said, no, the water mustn't mess my clothes. And he said, no, this is polished glass. Like how you have porcelain glass. This is like mirrored glass, which we have shined. The people working for me, they have done this. So when she looked properly, she saw what she thought to be water was actually just glass. That's when the panic clicked. That's when she realized, aha. In the same way that she thought that this was water, it was in fact an illusion. So she was being deluded. Similarly, in the same way that she thought that the sun was God, it was an illusion, and then she submitted to the one true God, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So there was for Saba for time a sign in their homeland, two gardens to the right and to the left. Eat of the sustenance provided by your Lord, and be grateful to him, a territory fair and happy, and a Lord oft forgiving. Stay well, look after yourself as we continue the story in the next episode. Alhamdulillah.